Hi Blast Tube, it's Diane. I thought I would do the Pearl tag and the Fer Realz tag. I'm going to start with Adele's, which is the Fer Realz tag. What level of stitcher do you consider yourself to be? When I heard this question, I kind of thought of how World of Cross Stitching magazine has patterns for beginners, intermediate, etc. I think I'd be, if you're thinking beginner, intermediate, advanced, expert, I think I'd be advanced. I've been stitching for over 25 years. I've done Aida, linen, even weave, special stitches, special fibers, beading, heart hanger, a little bit of heart hanger, a little bit of silk ribbon embroidery. Yeah, I think that would put me in the advanced category. For me, the expert category would be someone who could teach other people and just has a lot more experience. I've come to realize I have a lot more to learn, so I think I'd be advanced. How many whips UFOs do you honestly have? My 2-year-old is playing peekaboo. I have 2 UFOs. I had 3 in 2015, but my goal for 2016 was to finish stitching one of them, and I've been working on it. And I did 31 in January. Venetian Opulence would be 32, Birdcage Elegance would be 33, my Round Robin project, which technically I don't even have, I can't stitch on it right now, but when it comes back to me it'll have some stuff to do, would be 34, and I've started 3 in the last few weeks. One of them is just about done. I'm waiting for a special fiber to come. If it doesn't come soon, I ordered it from my LNS, and if it doesn't come soon, then I'm going to reorder it from 123 Stitch. So that one is just about done. And the other one is, they're for Sal's, stitch-alongs. I've noticed when I choose a stitch-along, because I tend to choose larger projects, just in general. But for stitch-alongs, I tend to choose smaller ones. Are you enabled easily? My wish lists do grow when I see people share stuff, but it's also a way that I've been exposed to new designers I would have never heard of or even attempted to try their designs. So not really. I mean, I don't rush out and have to have everything at once. I'll put it on my wish list, but definitely it puts things on my radar. So I'm going to have to say no. Do you suffer from SAD or SAD? Actually, I do suffer from seasonal affective disorder. My aunt light helps, the natural light and the sunlight and vitamin D helps. But the Stitcher's affective disorder, when it was described, which I'm glad you described, reminded me a lot of the dog Doug from the Up movie, Squirrel, or Dory from Finding Nemo, always being distracted. There are times I get really distracted in my stitching that I just don't want to settle down and do the project that's assigned, that I assigned myself. Yeah, there are times, but most of the time I like having an idea, okay, next week I'm stitching this piece and this piece. I like having those goals, and so I tend to stick to those goals more often than not. Have you finished... Can't read my own writing. Have you finished a full coverage piece? No, not yet. I would have never attempted a Haid had I not watched Floss Tube. Just didn't think I could do it. And then you guys started sharing how you use your parking technique and how you mark your charts and how you organize your charts and everything. So I actually have 5 Haids going right now. 2 of them are minis, 3 of them are regular charts. They all from a variety of different artists. So you get... it kind of goes into the next question. Do you like confetti? Some of the artists or some of the designs have a lot of confetti, or maybe just the area of the design. So it's nice to have some different designs. You can sit in my lap if you want. That you can have some different designs to go between. So on one of my designs right now, Lady Avalon, I am in an area. Just give me a second here. I'm in an area that has a lot of. There you are. There you are. A lot of block of color, but on White Dragon I have an area that I'm confetti heavy. How many finishes do you have this year, and how does this compare to your number in answer 2? Question 2. I have one finish, so technically I only have 36 whips and 2 UFOs. My goal in 2017 is to get rid of another UFO. I hasn't finished stitching it. Number 8, are you bothered by the fact how many finishes you have? No, I'm not. Again, I tend to choose bigger projects, so it's going to take a while. And would you rather have a smaller or a larger number? I think we'd all say we'd like a larger number of finishes, but I'm happy with where I'm at now. If I only had one for the entire year, I might get discouraged, but right now, because I did a January challenge where I had 31 different projects, one project a day, I knew I wouldn't have a lot of finishes at this point. So that's fine. Do you have a dirty little stitching secret? I have 2. I do not railroad my stitches, so I have twisted stitches in my designs or my projects, and I don't do 3/4 stitches. They don't make sense, because so you're supposed to do a 1/4 stitch, and then you're supposed to go over with one of the colors for a leg of the stitch. If you're already going over it with backstitch, why bother? It just doesn't make sense to me. I'm sure someone could say, oh, it does this and that and another thing, but I don't do 3/4 stitches. 1/4 stitches I will do, half stitches I will do, full stitches I will do. I will not do 3/4 stitches. Show your messiest back. I think this would be, whoops, in just a moment, I'm trying to do this one-handed. I think this would be my messiest back. This is White Dragon, regular chart from Haid. And that is probably my messiest back, because I'm parking, and as you can see here, this one's traveling a ways. So it's probably my messiest back. For me, having my backs perfectly neat doesn't matter as long as they're smooth. I don't like having odd bumps, and every once in a while I get an odd bump in there and it frustrates me. So that is the Fer Realz tag by Adele, the stitcher. We should get her a t-shirt, the one and only Adele, the stitcher. Pearl tag. This is by Katie, this Queen of Starts. Kate, the Queen of Starts. I'm sorry. I think you prefer Kate. What irritates you the most about cross stitch in general, and why? I have to agree with Joe, when you're stitching and you get that weird loop on the back and you don't realize it until later, or if you realized it right away, you could fix it and it wouldn't be a problem. Yeah, I agree with her on that. And 3/4 stitches. Also, when I wind my DMC on bobbins, and you're winding, or you're using your DMC, and you get that tied knot right in the middle of the skein. Really? That irritates me. Why bother? And they're only 8-meter, 8-yard skeins. Really? What designer irritates you, and why? I think it should be what about designers irritates you and why. Because the one thing that irritates me the most is a chart that's hard to read. And some designers, they make beautiful art, but to make it from the artwork to translate it to something that stitchers actually want to stitch, some of them miss the boat. I think that's why Haid is very successful, is because of Michelle. She can take art and she can translate it over into something that you and I would want to stitch. But some designers can't do that. Also, from some articles I've read through the years, you get the impression that some designers are insulted if you don't just stitch their designs. That's just kind of weird. You know, there's so many designers and styles and everything out there. Yeah. What stitch irritates you and why? French knots. Ugh, I hate French knots. I will put a full stitch there. I will put a bead there. I will skip it entirely. I was shown recently a different kind of knot by another stitcher. She doesn't like French knots any more than I do. She showed me a stitch, and French knots always seem unnatural to me. Like I have to have a third or fourth hand and my arms are doing weird things to get the stitch done. But she showed me a different knot that it looks a lot like French knots, but it seems more natural and more logical. So I am going to practice that and then at some point make a tutorial. It's okay, bud. It was just a motorcycle. And probably won't be in the next couple months, but it'll get there. What irritates you about non-stitchers? I'm going to clarify here. Non-stitchers versus non-crafters, different reaction. Non-crafters have no idea how long things take to do, why you would even bother. But cross-stitching isn't for everybody, and some people like knitting or crochet or gardening or whatever. That's still a craft. And they have a better idea of how much time and effort and energy goes into a piece versus non-crafters. But still with non-stitchers, yeah, they're like, it's just an X. It's just an X. Or they say, oh, I did that when I was younger, but then I got mature. And I'm thinking, no, your comment just proved you're not mature because, you think you're high and mighty and you're not. At some point there was probably a limited pattern and stuff regarding cross-stitch, but now, we have so many different fabrics and fibers and embellishments and patterns, and yeah, somebody could find something for themselves. So I think non-crafters irritate me more than anything because they think they're high and mighty. I don't do a craft. And I'm like, well, crafting lowers stress, is better for your health. There's even some studies out there that are studying if crafting can help offset dementia and Alzheimer's and all that kind of stuff. So I'll be in better health than you, so I'll live longer than you will. I have to stitch all these patterns. Non-stitchers, yeah, they try to understand about cross-stitching, but they don't 100% understand. It doesn't bother me, though, that people like to do other crafts. So, what irritates you the most about stitchers? Okay. I am a mom of 10 boys. And I do not know how many times in my lifetime I have had to tell my boys, it's not a competition. They will turn setting the table, how many dishes they put on the table, how many dishes they clear from the table, how many times they run around the house, how many jumping jacks they can do. Yeah, they compete with burps. I mean, we're talking boys, body sounds. There are things that it's appropriate to have a competition, but there are things that it doesn't make any sense. Some people like a lot of new starts, or they like stash, or they like, and they like to share. And I'm glad that they like to share. That's how I find out about designers and resources and stuff. And I like to, encourage them to keep working and moving forward. And some people like finishes, and some people like this designer, that designer, this type, that type. Great. But it's not a competition. And I see that kind of creeping into our community. Well, look what I did. Well, that's not exactly what the community's for. Sharing your progress is great, but getting a big head about it, I think Joe talked about having a big head. Oh, and Joe, I had a laugh about your answer to one of these questions. I can't remember which one it was. About the commercial. My husband's a Charmin-only guy. Okay, we've had many discussions about this in our house. So, bear or no bears. Of course, we don't have TV, so we don't watch that, but this is supposed to be a community of building up, and there will be trolls and gremlins, and those people will come because there's always bad apple, but we can get rid of them fast. And I am, with regard to the copyright thing Joe brought up, I'm glad that we want to honor copyright as a community. But there are extremes. There was one group, I think they're gone now, they actually encouraged you to break the law. Encourage you, you can make multiple copies and just hand them out. No, unless you have a special permission thing from the artist or from the publisher to do that, like if you're doing a class or something, no, you can't do that. And I'm glad we want to honor copyright. And people are asking questions about it. So you've got that extreme, and then you've got the extreme that if you do not stitch it on the fabric in the model, with the exact fibers in the model, with the exact beads in the model, with the exact da-da-da-da-da, then you're breaking copyright. No, that's not breaking copyright either. That's not breaking copyright. So you have one extreme or the other, and it has been causing some issues. But if you don't understand copyright, just ask honest questions about it rather than getting all hyper and whipped up about something that doesn't need to be whipped up about. Okay, off my soapbox. But I'm going to go. Those are the 2 tags. I guess there's another rotation tag or something I missed, but I don't have the questions for that one. I do a rotation. I do 1 week on of my main focus project, 1 week off where I can do other things. On my week off, I either do a Haid, a Mirabilia, or something else, which could include fully finishing objects. That's basically my rotation. I feel I'm getting more done with a rotation than not having a rotation, but that's kind of it, my rotation in a nutshell. So I'm going to go work on supper, and thought I would just answer those tags while I had a chance, and I will talk to you later. Bye, YouTube.